Hello, I'm Andrew Underwood, and I'm the speaker for the first proposition speaker. I'm here to convince you, Judge, that letter grades harm students, don't help them at all. Our points are that letter grades make kids not want to learn, that they're better alternatives, and if we have time, that letter grades are easily manipulatable, and they aren't really accurate. Okay. First point is that letter grades diminish a student's want to learn. NitoToday.org quotes Alfie Kohn when he said, "The research quite clearly shows that kids who are graded tend to lose interest in learning itself." Alfie Kohn is a very outspoken critic of the traditional letter grade system. It's hard not to see why, considering it hasn't really been working for the past how many years? Another example is me. I don't really want to learn more, and that's partly because of the letter grade system. And based on this, Judge, I personally want to ask you to vote for the Senate proposition. Now, is that it? Is that up?
All right, good morning. I am Silas Botham, the first opposition speaker for the case why letter grades do not do more harm than good in school. First, I would like to give a definition of what letter grades are, then refute my opponent's claims, then introduce our own contentions. Letter grades, or academic grading, are a grading scale that usually take the form of 5 to 7 letters, A, B, C, D, and F, A being the highest and F being the lowest. These grades rank a student's ability to complete an assignment, test, or project accurately. Some districts may use the letter E or numbers instead, but they're all built on the same universal principle. So the affirmative has stated grades do not accurately measure a student's success and diminish their wish to learn. However, while this statement taken out of important context and stated alone may be somewhat true, it is missing a key factor that negates the affirmative's argument. Letter grades are a tool built for a specific task of objectively determining a student's ability to accurately complete work. Grades are loosely like a ruler, and that ruler is designed to do a simple task, to measure length, as we all know, universally. A subjective and abstract ruler that changes its output is not and will never be useful in determining length. Letter grades are necessary to determine that students' ability to complete a set of work. When put alone, they necessarily don't accurately measure a student's success, but that may be true, but that's not the debate. The debate is if they do more harm than good and are necessary to provide an objective illustration of a student, and they are. Grades are not a measure of a person, nor are they even the sole measure of academic achievement. They are a reflection of, quote, how much a student has learned in various courses. And frankly, like any system, it can be imperfect. But those imperfections don't negate its necessity in schooling when benefits are far greater. Now I'd like to introduce my team's reasoning for why letter grades are necessary in schooling. First, the grading scale is universal. Second, it is simple, direct, and objective. Third, while grades aren't the primary motivator, they are useful to prompt students to keep learning. And fourth, different types of systems support students in new ways, while keeping the fundamental parts of letter grading. First, the grading scale is universal. Everyone, students, parents, and educators alike know the difference between earning an A and an F. And this letter system allows for direct comparison from one student to another within a class and subject. High school grades are one of the most common factors that colleges use to determine if a student should be accepted. That means they're universal. They're universally used. Students can compare their grades to others and different standards much easier than alternatives, and letter grades are the norm. The Dean of Admissions at MIT notes that one of the first things specifically MIT looks at is a student's GPA, or grade point average, a number which is found based on your letter grades, according to an interview with Sal Khan of Khan Academy. That's the Dean of Admissions at one of the most prestigious universities in the nation, and MIT is not the only one. Right along with looking at extracurricular activities and recommendations, top schools like Harvard, Brown, Columbia, Cornell, Princeton, Yale, and others review an applicant's GPA and tend to select students with a GPA of 3.0 or higher, noting exceptional students who provide 4.0 or higher, according to CollegeVine. While your GPA is far from the only thing looked at, it is a universal benchmark which can be compared across the board. Second, grades are simple, direct, and objective. They are built on a system which is unambiguous. Patricia Willis is a teacher, and she states that traditional letter grades make it easy for students to understand their grades and calculate the scores they need to achieve for the mark they desire. Students at a glance can see what's working and what's not to make a plan to improve. Due to these grades being direct and categorical, students will know precisely which subjects are their weak spots, and students can conveniently choose what to focus on. Letter grades can be understood much easier by students as well as parents. Parents can find the letter grading system is simpler to understand and easier to see where to focus future efforts. In Illinois, after a parent's child's school implemented an uncommon alternative that the affirmative has recommended for alternatives to letter grades, known as a progress guide, the parent stated to the Chicago Tribune that this tells me nothing, referring to the different system. Third, grades are sometimes useful to prompt students to keep learning. Students come to see it as a reward for their hard work. A University of Michigan study found that 80% of students use academic performance to self-motivate and boost their confidence. 80%. Additionally, healthy competition is crucial to helping children learn important skills they need in the future. Grades that encourage competition and in turn motivation will, quote, help build students up and engage them as they discover new skills, according to that University of Michigan study. Our fourth argument is that there are numerous types of grading systems that support students in different ways. Grade laws allow for teachers and students to use different forms of and processes of grading that helps the student thrive in the environment while maintaining a simple, direct, and objective letter grading scale. Some of these forms of grading include standards-based grading, grading that is based on what educators and field experts believe is ought to accomplish. Another type of grading is rank-based grading, a grading in which students are ranked based on their performance in comparison to other students. Rank-based grading fixes the problems such as grade inflation, which is a serious problem in education according to the Washington Post. It is said to have pushed some students to their utmost performance by appealing to their competitive instincts. They're systems that emphasize critical thinking and innovative problem solving while still maintaining the letter grade fundamentals. Letter grades, in conclusion, letter grades are necessary to not solely determine success in their process alone, but to objectively illustrate students' ability within a certain area to inform, motivate, and challenge a student to work harder and grow to achieve new standards for themselves. Designed with preparing students in an objective and universal way, this academic grading scale is an effective benchmark that does not do more harm than good and is ultimately a useful tool and skill in school. Please vote for the proposition. Thank you.
My name is Samuel, and I am the second proposition speaker. To begin with, my opponent has stated that letter grades are easily usable for showing the students problems. Yet I disagree. If a parent sees that their student is failing a class, they need to know what their child is capable of in the class. The student who is graded on the scale needs to show how the student is failing, not just the fact that they are. My opponent says that parents say a new grading scale isn't showing info. Yet parents in Kentucky prefer a report card that includes a short summary along with the letter grades. Moving on to my point, letter grades are easily manipulable. They aren't fully accurate. In your school, you could have two identical math classes, yet one has a requirement to show your work. A student could be passing in one class, yet failing another. The information shown in one report card, may not show the parent and students what they need to know and what is needed to improve on. Like if the child needs to show their work. A parent would need to understand if the child was failing in division but understood addition and subtraction. But the parent could not get this information from a letter grade report card. People need to reform in report cards. Parents need to know what is happening in their child's life. However, Kentucky schools are sending parents not just letter grades, but also a short summary of their students' classes. What a child is doing good and poorly on. Kentucky was the first ever to have this reform of report cards, and parents were thrilled about the new report cards and overwhelmingly preferred it. According to school survey, it was clear that the new report card was a success. This shows that parents prefer the new report card, and this report card should be used. People just don't change out the old. I'm Samuel Rhodes. Please vote for the proposition.
Hi, I'm Akshay Venkatachal. I'm the second speaker for the opposition of this debate. To begin with, I will refute my opponent's claims, contentions, then add to my own team's argument. First, my opponent said that, quote, letter grades aren't measurable. However, according to teachers on study.com, letter grades, quote, award those who work for it. Therefore, letter grades actually do measure your learning because you can't get a good grade without accurately knowing the material. Now on to my own contentions. Our first contention is that letter grades are a universal scale, with some form of letter grades dating back to the 1800s and beyond, according to PhD Nicole Lassen of the University of Chicago. The system is known by many and has been accepted for over 100 years. And as the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Our second contention is that letter grades are direct with little wiggle room. As my partner already stated, this point is proven by a teacher, Patricia Willis, who after years of experience states that traditional letter grades make it easy for students to understand their grades and calculate the scores they need to achieve the mark they desire. The letter grades being mainly objective, the room for arguments about scores is very minimal, which is another benefit of traditional letter grades and why they should keep grades in our schools. Our team's third contention is that letter grades help motivate our students. Since all kids know that getting an A is the ideal goal, if they care about their future, they will work to get the grade that is necessary, and by doing that, learn the material. They will strive to work for that and work hard to achieve their wanted grade. Also, letter grades encourages students to outdo each other in some systems, causing the output for the entire class to go up. Finally, our team's fourth contention. Since the power of grades lie in different districts, as said by state law, if traditional letter grades aren't a teacher's forte, slight variations could work for them. As long as the simple, direct grades remain objective, schools have the freedom to slightly alter our system, as long as the students succeed in the end. To conclude, letter grades have worked for so long because they're universal, direct and objective, motivate our students, and yes, please vote for the opposition.
You want to do conclusion? Conclusion?